Well, hello, Gramps. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, thank you. You know,
Uh, how's the
wait,
temperature down about your parts?
I don't know what it actually is, but it's livable because the sun's shining. As long as you stay out of the wind, it's not too bad. I went out and fed the birds and the squirrels, and
I'm sure they
getting them winter,
appreciate that.
getting them winterized.
Yeah, buddy. It was 72 here yesterday, and it is currently 33 for the
Yeah,
high. They said 37 is going to be the high. I don't think it's going to make it.
yeah, it's
So,
about the way it was here yesterday. But it's not quite that cool yet.
well,
Getting there.
we're sending it south. You're going to be, you'll be getting it soon, I'm sure. Y'all are predicted to get into a bunch of the snow. Is that still accurate? You're going to get snowed in down there?
That's what this keeps saying, but we'll have to see. But it went from like 15% to last night they were saying to be somewhere around up to 70% chance. So we'll
And
see.
how much snow were they talking?
Uh, a few inches,
Yeah,
not a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches.
axle deep to a Ferris wheel might as well be for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as how y'all never get snow.
Well, we did in '93, I think.
Yeah, 93 you had snow, and then here we go. It's 30 years later, 31 years later, and you may get snow again. That's just how often y'all get it.
We had a
Well,
little bit up the country in the 2000s. I don't remember 2004 or five, somewhere in there. Maybe I don't know. That may be totally inaccurate, but it was in the up just a few miles north of here, 20 miles so. They had enough people that had the cross country skis that had moved here because of the military.
right.
Got out there cross country skis and were out there in the woods having a blast. You know, you come from Colorado where it's all snow to no snow or very little snow. You take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, we're on the upper band of where we might not get much of the snow. We're on the northern side of it, and you're on the southern side of it. So it's a little sliver going to run right across the south, and it's pretty historic. We'll see how it pans out here in the next couple of days. Uh, we and you have talked about this topic before, and it was on the header. If you are in this live and saw that the dishonesty of mechanics. Are mechanics actually dishonest, or are they undertrained, or is it some of both, or what do you think, Gramps?
Well, in my early career of working on cars, uh, people got, and I assume I haven't talked to any of them lately because the people I've been in the last few years had their own shops, so they had to run in the shops. But early on in my career, you had a combination of the two. Uh, you had some people that would. I saw people do some snarky things and uh, sell people work they didn't really need, but they got paid on commission, and I guess I assume that they still get paid on commission. And these
Absolutely.
commissions, more work you can sell, the better off you are.
Well, so one of the things that I saw, and it was fairly early on in my career, and I was working at a big truck dealer. I'm not going to say the name of the truck dealer. I'm sure the statutes of limitations have run out on this, but I started out. I was a trainee, okay, and well, this was back in the '90s, and the '60 series diesel was it was king of the hill at that point. I mean, it was the backbone of fleet trucking for a long time. And what I would see is we would, as us as trainees, there was three or four of us, and we would be out on the floor, and we were getting paid hourly. And we would have a truck come in, and we would check it out, do whatever repair was needed, and we put the truck back outside. And the truck might be, and it might be under warranty. Okay. Well, if the truck was on warranty, some of the seasoned techs, I caught them doing it, and in an effort to not get blacklisted or whatever, or get, I got to work with these guys every day. I never said anything, but they'd go out and they'd roll the hoods on the trucks, and they would take and look at the cam cap bearing assembly, and they were prone to leaking on those 60 series Detroits. And they would go out and they would write the serial numbers down, and they would get all the information, and they would come in and they would file a warranty claim. They would submit it. Foreman was in on it. They would go out with a can of brake clean, and they would hose the area off and make it look really nice and clean, and then write the serial numbers down. And that job paid 12 hours. And they'd have, and they'd gone out there and cleaned it with brake clean and come back in. So is there dishonesty in the system? Yes, sometimes there is. That is an example, to where who got hurt? Well, the warranting company got, duped, so to speak, and not necessarily the customer. And I don't know of anybody that actually did that to a paying customer, but it's just an example of one of the things that I had seen.
Like I said, I've seen some snarky stuff, and knowing it ain't right, but like I said, I always tried to do my job as honestly as I could. I mean, it's straightforward. If I told you something, I really believed that there was something wrong.
Right. I mean, and and let's rule out one thing here. An honest mistake. I mean, if you thought something was wrong and you ended up, it was like, hey, that wasn't what the problem was. It was an honest mistake. It was not that you were trying to get somebody to get something that they didn't need.
Right.
And I think that's called being human. I think we've all had that happen to us. And if that happens, the only thing you can do is be honest about it and be forthright with the customer, just telling them, hey, I made a mistake. I think you would win more, what's the word I'm looking for, kudos or loyalty from your customer by doing that than, lying to your customer and selling them stuff they don't need. One of the other things that we had talked about was that you have customers who are relying on you because they're not very well educated about the automobiles and how they're put together. And that's particularly true, even more so today than any time in the past. I remember as a kid, when you had your own shop, you told this story of a guy who'd come in. I can't remember the exact work that you had done to the vehicle, but you told the guy that while you were under there, you had found that his bolts on his starter were loose, and you went ahead and tightened them up, and then there was no charge for it, but you wanted him to know that you had found the bolts loose and you had taken care of it for him. And his response to you was, do you think it could be because of my large keychain? I mean, I would had to look at the guy and turn my head like, what are you talking about, sir? So,
well, I tell you what, those large keychains can cause even today.
If you got a GM,
they can screw up the ignition on the one that you put a key in. If you got a long, that weight pulling down on it all the time, can screw up the ignition switch. I think most of the newer ones have got a button, that don't have that problem. But either ones that's got the keys and got the big key chain are risking damaging the ignition switch.
Yeah, on a real note, yes, I think GM actually had a problem with that fairly recently. And I think they've since fixed it. But so, are there any other stories you can think of in your time as a mechanic that another mechanic got over on somebody. We can leave names out to protect the innocent and the guilty.
Well, I saw a guy. He said, "I'm going to sell this guy a rear end seal behind the drive shaft.
Pinion.
The pinion seal.
Yeah.
So he just doused it down with oil, got it and cranked it up and run it on the lift, slung oil all everywhere, and got the customer. The customer happened to be there waiting, and called him out there and said, "You got this thing's leaking. You got oil everywhere." And then did what you said they did: spray it off and blow it off. On out the door. Yeah.
Yeah, and didn't touch it. Well, to protect the innocent, I work with a guy now who told me when he worked at an oil change, at a quick oil change place, he said they were getting paid to refill oil bottles. They were taking the bulk oil and putting back in the like if you had a Castrol bottle or whatever, and the customer would come in and ask for that specific oil, well, you weren't getting that. You were getting what was in the bulk tank. Once those bottles were empty, they held on to them and took and cleaned them up with some brake clean, and customers come in and said, "Give me some Castrol GTX 10W30. Yes, sir. And it was refilled bottles that they had pulled from, and kept held to and refilled with bulk oil. So,
yeah,
you just got to be careful.
There's, in every field, it doesn't matter if it's an automobile or whatever, there are devious people that will do stuff like that, to make money because they're on some kind of commission. The worst are the ones on commission. Yeah.
Right.
Because they get paid for everything they sell. And not everybody that way, Sometimes.
No.
And I'm glad of it because, but you hear or read or people have, there's several YouTubers on that say this just rolled in the customer,
Yeah.
Some of it's real, some of it's not so real. So just have to try to source, from your friends and neighbors and reviews online nowadays in particular. And
yeah, read your reviews.
Try to make a determination if and usually if a place is doing things the right way, they got more work than they can do. Just look around at their lot. Yeah.
Well, I did a little walking around the internet, and one of the things I wanted to share. First thing I'll go ahead and share is if you're a little bit handy, you don't have to be a technician. You don't have to know all the ins and outs. You do have Google. They sell these like this particular brand. I think I gave one of these away. This is a little it's a scanner. It's by X-Tool Advancer AD10. It pairs with your phone, and it is that is a simple diagnostic reader. And there it does actually give some data. It doesn't give a lot, but it gives a few things. There's actual coolant temperature and a few other things on it. But you can actually pull your codes yourself. And in today's day and age, you have to be able to see the code. That is one of the first steps to determining what's wrong with your vehicle. So it's not always going to give you the complete picture, but sometimes it will. And if you want to go a little bit step further, you've got the one of the other one that I have done reviews on, and we actually found problems with your vehicle that we didn't know it had. The Top Don by TopScan. It's a prosumer level, also uses your phone and gives you an opportunity to dig in and find some information that you can look at on your own. So you could kind of know what the codes are before you ever even carry it in, and you can take the time to go and Google is your friend. You can find out a lot of information, and like we said, YouTube is your friend. We've talked about that. There are trusted mechanics on YouTube. One we and you have often watch and talk about, and that's South Main Auto with Eric O. And there's another one that's a friend of his, and we can't seem to remember his name. If it ever comes to us, we'll throw it out there. Was it Pine Hollow? I think it just came to him.
Yeah,
Pine Hollow. Pine Hollow Diagnostics, is that?
Yeah.
I think that's it. Both those guys are very honest, straightforward. And I know Eric O has actually dealerships send him stuff that they can't fix for whatever reason that they don't know how to fix, and he'll find the problem and fix it. But there are guys like me, guys like Eric O, that actually show how to work on stuff, what you're looking for, how to do it. I had a comment on a video earlier today. I believe it was a young lady. I'm not sure of that, but the name sure led me to believe that. She was actually doing drum brakes, and she looked at one of my videos and came in and thanked me for what I had shown, but it helped them get their drum brakes put back together. And if you want to open a nest of snakes and have never done drum brakes before, that's a nest of snakes.
Get out your phone first. Take lots of pictures.
Yes. If it hasn't already gone all to hell inside and everything's still intact, and all you need to do is put a wheel cylinder and some shoes back on it, what he just said, take you a bunch of pictures to document what routing your springs are, how everything's laid out, your self-adjuster cable, and all of that.
Which hole the spring goes in to hold it on.
And what color the springs are, the shapes of the ends, all of that matters.
Different length springs.
Yep.
One in the front, one in the back. Might be. I'm talking about on the same wheel.
Mm-hmm.
The forward spring may be shorter or longer than the back spring, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And it'll have a little crook will be bent a little different to hook onto the shoe. You're going to have different lengths of the different shoe lengths, but yeah, we digress. It's all, document that can help you.
Pictures.
Huh?
There's lots of pictures, and as many of them as I put on, I'd still today take a picture because, I might overlook something. Where if I had a picture of it when it started, and I knew that it was factory to start with, hadn't been monkeyed with.
And the other thing is you can always take the other side off and just remember it's a mirror image of the side you're working on.
Right.
All right. So I have pulled up an article, and let me add this in here and we'll talk about it. It's talked about 5 ways to protect yourself from dishonest mechanics, and having a little scanner so that you kind of know what you're looking at before you get in there. And one of the things that we said, and it says it right here, check your reviews. Today's world of internet and social media, it doesn't take long for somebody to get some bad reviews if they're doing some shady stuff. When you go in, don't be afraid to ask what kind of certifications the mechanics at that particular shop have, or if it's a 1 or 2 man shop, ask them how much experience they've got. You got to think about this. If you were going into a physician and he didn't have a certificate on the wall of what college he graduated from, you're dealing with your health there. How much are you going to trust him? Another thing that can help you if you end up into some kind of a squabble, go ahead, and most shops should be able to give you some kind of a written estimate before you ever start. They may not be able to get you to the dollar, but it ought to be, and when you get to the end, if it's $100 over, that's probably a reasonable amount to exceed an estimate without getting in too much of a squabble, because, the way cost of things are today, you could very easily go over on your estimate by $100 and still be legitimate. Would you agree with that, Gramps?
Yeah.
Ask
Especially
what.
now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Especially now because price of parts seem to change every 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 to 30 minutes, you're going to get a new. Yeah, and things have gone up. I mean, some things that I bought just a few years ago, I looked at them the other day and I'm like, good grief. Couldn't believe, it looked like there was at least a 50% cost increase. Ask what kind of warranty you're going to get, 90-day, 1 year, and some of that's going to depend on the part. Depends on what kind of part warranty is going to come along with it. And if something is not going to be warranted, the mechanic should be upfront with you and tell you that. And finally, one of the last things that you should do is trust your instincts. If you feel like somebody's shining you on and giving you a fake story, and you don't feel real comfortable in that shop, then you probably need to just ease on back out and say thank you very much, have a good day, and go elsewhere. But yeah, ask around a little bit, ask some friends. Yeah, word of mouth goes a long way. There's a shop here locally, and there's one that's about 2 hours south of us, that when people ask about getting work done, there's the one here locally and the one, like I said, 2 hours from here, I have recommended in the past. We had a young lady that was single mom, strapped for cash, and I called a buddy of mine down, like I said, down in Hattiesburg from where I am. It's 2 hours, and kind of got a rough quote on getting some suspension and steering parts put on the vehicle, and well, it came in several $100s less. So I recommended for her, if she didn't mind driving it 2 hours, to go down there and see them. And she did, and that worked out great. So word of mouth means a lot.
Yeah, well, recently, I'm not going to mention the name of the shop, even though it's been in the news. A guy was in business when I came here, had a good shop, good reputation. He started it from the ground up, hired people over the years. But his shop, just ain't got nothing to do with the story, but his shop was as clean in the back as it was in the front. He kept a shop immaculate, and he said people bringing cars in, didn't expect to see a grease pit. But anyway, he saw, after about 40 years, I think he sold it in 2019. Had a good reputation, like I said, did good work, charged for his work, but did good work. He sold his business, and a few weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he sold his name with the business. When he sold the business, he sold his name. Well, first thing he said was just his name, and that it was the news story started off with somebody showing all the police cars and investigators around the shop. They were being investigated for lying and stealing and misrepresenting the truth about the car, but they used his name, even though they said he's no longer affiliated with this company.
Yeah.
Some people probably didn't hear that, and they'd be thinking, well, I always knew he was a crook, but he wasn't. It's just he's made a mistake, sold the business to the next person, let him use his name. So that told me something. If I ever had a business, you ain't getting my name.
Well, the shop that I recommend people go to here in our area, that the name, they sold the shop, but it was my understanding they sold it to some techs that were already in the shop that wanted to move up into ownership. and it's basically the same people running the business. It's just that the people that started it ended up retiring and moving on and sold it to them, and they put it under a different name. But it's my understanding that it's the same group of mechanics that's been there for years. And like I said, they had, come along and moved up. And I have yet to hear anything negative about it. And until I do, I will still recommend people go talk to them.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. Do not sell your name with your business. Take your name with you.
Yeah. I'm sure that's something he learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Because he worked hard. He did, he had a good business. And now it's smeared somewhat.
Right. His name's been dragged through the mud, and he's probably still around. Did they go do an interview with him and talk with him? Or
no? Yeah. He's still around, but because I've seen him a few times. But he used to help me out with the fleet that I was overseeing for a while. So.
Oh, was that the one a couple hours east of you over there?
No, he was in Pensacola.
Oh, he was. Okay.
But like I said, I knew for a fact that he because when I take something to him for him to fix because I couldn't get to it, I got to inspect it afterwards, and it was solid work that he did, but just hated to see his name get messed up,
Right. I think I remember you talking about this guy. I think you've had a few problems that you couldn't dig into. You didn't have time to troubleshoot, but you knew he could fix it, and you just send it to him and he'd fix it.
Yeah.
So, and you didn't worry about it. You knew it was fixed when you got it back.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a minute and we will talk about our favorite company, and they are in trouble again, believe it or not. You think they would start learning, but no. Again, people are human and they make mistakes. Well, Toyota is back in the news again. This is a fairly new article that I just came across. It was, I believe it came out on the 18th. It's when it came into my news feed anyway. So, Toyota's commercial truck line, Hino, they're going to pay $1.6 billion for fake emissions. Seems like we've heard this song before, and it came with Mercedes and with Volkswagen cheating the emissions test. And I don't know why. I guess it's to save money. But Hino Motors, a subsidiary of Toyota that manufactures commercial vehicles, has agreed to plead guilty to a federal charge of a multi-year criminal conspiracy to fraudulently evade state and federal emission standards. It's part of an umbrella settlement that also involves civil claims brought by federal regulators and the state of California. And here's the big one. The company is paying a total of $1.6 billion in fines and penalties, including the second largest criminal fine Environmental Protection Agency has ever leveled for a vehicle-based Clean Air Act violation. I believe it's going to be Volkswagen probably is the one. I think they paid more. I didn't do the research into that for this particular live, but I think it's Volkswagen paid the most. And it's either Volkswagen or Mercedes, because I know they had to come in and replace computers and on our trucks that we had, and they had to replace exhaust, and they had to take and reprogram, reflash a bunch of computers. It was quite expensive. One of the things, let's see if I can find it in the article. It went on to state that the vehicles are still safe and that Hino will offer free voluntary repairs for some vehicles. It's not going to affect fuel economy or vehicle operation. Here it is. As part of the settlement, Hino will also pay criminal fines and civil fees of more than $150 million to replace engines on ships and trains with cleaner versions and fund hybrid and zero-emission buses and trucks in California. These are remedies meant to balance out the excess pollution caused by the company's evasion of the emission standards. The company is also on probation for 5 years, during which it cannot import any diesel engines into the U.S. And I think that probably is going to be one of the biggest bites, because if you can't sell trucks here in the U.S., it's going to take you a while to recover from that $1.6 billion fine and the other millions that you're going to have to pay. I find it rather shocking that they would try to pull that off.
Yeah, on that scale, particularly. So they won't be able to. They won't be able to sell any motors or engines in the U.S.
It says for 5 years, during which it cannot import any diesel engines into the U.S. Period.
What about the ones that they're going to need to fix?
They're going to be allowed to fix any that are existing, but and I don't know if they're going to be. It does not go into whether if they had to do a replacement engine on a truck under warranty or whatnot. I think they're talking about any new sales. They'll only be able to repair existing vehicles that are currently here. I can't see them preventing them from bringing those in, because that would be punishing the customer as well. Let's see. Let's go down here. The Satoshi Ogiso, the president and CEO of Hino Motors, called the agreement with the regulators a significant milestone. We deeply apologize for the inconvenience caused to our customers and stakeholders. He wrote in a statement, in order to prevent recurrence of this kind of issue, we have implemented company-wide reforms, including meaningful improvements to our internal culture, oversight, and compliance practices. Toyota and other manufacturers have been caught in recent years submitting false data to regulators in Japan, as well to a scandal Toyota has apologized for. A year ago, Toyota said that irregularities in some subsidiary companies have shaken the very foundation of the company as an automobile manufacturer. Well, when you get those kind of fines, I would say so. I would think if I was in charge of that kind of situation, it would be affecting somebody else's pocketbook that's in charge of that particular sector of the company. In all your years with Toyota, you never saw anything like that, did you?
No. There was a problem, they fixed it. Period.
Right, and they didn't try to your knowledge, shade or hide anything.
Nope. They were no. So if the problem come up, it didn't matter. They had head problems, and it was because of the soft seats and went from leaded gas to non-leaded. They didn't make the non-leaded heads where it could stand up. The heads they put on the engines, then they transferred gasoline into non-leaded. Well, the engines wouldn't hold up because the lead cushioned the valve seats. And without the lead in it, it caused them to burn the valves and the seats. Mm-hmm. So they just started replacing heads, and first they rebuilt them, and then they quit rebuilding them and just sent new heads. Sent a warranty claim, they got a new head. It didn't matter. They fixed it. Same thing with rust early on, they had rust problems in some areas. They fixed it, So they stood up. That's the reason they got such a good foothold, because they're good vehicles. But if they had a problem come up, it was a major deal. They just fixed it. Didn't argue, just fixed it.
Right. Well, I think that the Toyota Motor Company as a corporation probably needs to take a step back and look back at those days and remember what made them a great company. And you always said that they, and I think it goes back to Japanese culture. I mean, they were always an honorable people, and they were always took pride in what they did. And to be honest, it just has to has me wondering if it's some of the Americanization of what goes on, and the almighty dollar has not taken the front seat, so to speak, as opposed to all out quality and dependability and reliability. And maybe Toyota needs to step back and take a closer look at what made them great and go and get back to that.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
they're making a ton of money, so if they play $1.9 million, a billion dollars, 1.9 billion,
1.6.
They're making money.
Yeah, and and the thing they knew on the last live when we talked about the floor mat problem they had that ended up getting sued and cost them, I forget how many, it was 1 billion dollars, 20 years ago. So, or maybe not quite 20 years ago, but it was 2008, 2009. So maybe they need to take a step back. So,
like a lot of the companies, not just automotive.
No. Yeah, that's one of the things that me and you talk about on the regular. We're just on regular phone conversation. Is they can't make shit anymore. Let's just be honest. Every day there's a recall on a food product. There's a recall on this. There's a recall on that. Well, there's a recall. I had an article pulled up here. I'll share it with you real quick. I mean, they're not lily white and bathed in light either, and that was Cummins. 600,000 Ram trucks had to be recalled under a settlement and an emissions claim. So, it's not just Toyota.
Right.
They're all trying to scam the system and, make that almighty dollar. I think, it must be pretty lucrative is the only thing I can figure, because if they can afford to pay out those kinds of fines, how much money did they make otherwise? Was it enough to get their attention? I don't know.
Well, when you're selling a Ram vehicle at $100,000+, you don't have to have, you sell a few of them, you'd be okay.
Yeah, they're not going to miss their appointment on a yacht in the Bahamas. I can guarantee you that. So, well, we've been going here for right at 40 minutes. I think that's about all I got for today. What about you, Gramps? You got any burning desires before we get out of here?
No, just I've been watching the Honda and Mitsubishi, and who else was it? Who was they?
Honda, Nissan, and Mitsubishi.
Yeah, Nissan, Mitsubishi. I've been watching that. See, it said it's probably going to come to fruition in 2026. They'll have all the bugs worked out. So,
okay,
it'll be curious to see if Honda came down to Nissan's level, or Honda was able to bring some of the reliability back to the Mitsubishi. And of course, the Mitsubishis are just an econo box, but some people I've talked to that have them really like them. So, but they are econo box for sure.
Well, I've owned several. I've had Mitsubishi trucks, and they were pretty solid vehicles. They were not that unreliable, and so yeah. Let's see if Honda can raise a sinking ship of Nissan and possibly come up with a way to build a CVT that actually works, because I think the Honda CVT transmissions are actually pretty decent. I don't hear a lot of problems with them, but you get out past 100,000 miles on a Nissan, yeah, they're going to be a problem.
Or you was talking about a little bit earlier about the integrity of the culture in Japan.
Yes.
You know, one of your cousins went over there in the military and was housed off base in a regular Japanese community.
Yeah.
His
I
kids
remember that.
His kids had bicycles. They just left them out by the road. None of them ever came up missing. He moved on base. In 3 days, all the bicycles were stolen on the base.
Well,
well, he said they laid out on the street. He said they laid on the sidewalk in the city where he was at. He said they never moved. Kids drop them. They go back next morning. That's where they were. Moved on the base, and 3 days they're all gone.
All of them stolen in 3 days.
Yeah, that's I said they don't say too much for the soldiers.
No, it does not say too much for the American soldiers and their kids.
It was like
it does speak volumes to the Japanese, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, he wanted to move back out in the town. You know, he said my stuff's safer out in the community.
Yeah. Well, it's my understanding that the Japanese police don't even carry firearms. They have firearms, but they don't carry firearms unless they are a serious civil emergency. That they're like I think in that way in Great Britain they don't carry.
Right, it was. I guess it still is.
Yeah, I assume it still is, but that's what I understood about the Japanese police. They carried a nightstick kind of thing, but they did not carry any kind of firearm because they didn't need them.
Right.
And it's my understanding you walk around Japan anytime you want, day or night, and you don't have to worry about somebody knocking you in the head taking your stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that goes directly to the story you just relayed. All right, Gramps. I don't know who all has been in here. I could have looked at my comments. That would have been great, but let's see. Jonathan Pierre. He says, "How have you been, buddy?" He said, "I'm the guy that washed the trucks at FedEx." That goes back a ways. Good to see you. Good to see you in here, buddy. Glad you joined us. But I think we're going to slip on out of here. And until next time, Gramps, I appreciate you coming in here and doing these lives with me.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if it was what I contributed, but maybe a little bit.
No, you contribute. You do, absolutely do. So if you would just hang around backstage for just a minute before we get out of here.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.